It is 8:30. I'm Dennis House. Thanks for joining us for Face the State on this Sunday morning. The 2019 legislative session is almost over. It ends later this week, but still, there's much to be accomplished in the next 4 days. With us today to talk about that are two state senators, Heather Sommer, she's a Republican, and Will Haskell, a Democrat. And we thank you both for being here on the program today.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
And I want to begin with tolls, because that's the big thing that it seems everyone out there is talking about. A new poll came out this week from Sacred Heart and The Current showing 59% of the people are against tolls. Where do you stand on that, and where do you see this going? We're hearing from the Speaker late this week that there'll be no vote until after perhaps a special session.
Right. Well, I am against tolls. I have been against tolls from the get-go. I don't think tolls in the format that we have seen make financial sense. I have serious concerns that we have no solid plan on tolls, as you can see from the governor's office. The plan changes on a daily basis, and we're hearing it, we're not hearing it, we're having special session, no, we're going to vote on it today. And people need to recognize, or citizens don't recognize, that the only plan that the federal government has seen and has given a thumbs up to has been the original plan with 82 gantries on it. They have not seen any of these other renditions of toll plans that have come before the legislature or have been put out to the public. So we don't even know if the federal government is going to approve this toll plan. And I think it's another aspect of what we've seen gone wrong with this administration, in the fact that the only solution is to once again put another tax on people in Connecticut. We are pickpocketing the people of Connecticut, one tax at a time. And, quite frankly, we've had an overwhelming response on forums that we've done throughout the state. People are against tolls, and it hurts the middle class that have to travel the furthest for their particular job the most.
Senator Haskell, in your judgment, are tolls good for the state? Are they needed?
It's not that I love tolls, but I support tolls, because it seems to me that Democrats and Republicans, nearly everybody I've met at the Capitol, can agree that we have to improve our infrastructure. The train from Westport to Grand Central, the town that I represent, has gotten slower since 1950, not faster. We have hundreds of structurally deficient bridges. So given our need to invest in our infrastructure, it seems that we have two plans. One is to borrow, passing on debt to the next generation, which is frankly what Connecticut's done for decades. That's how we're in this fiscal mess that we see every day in the state capitol. The other option is to charge a user fee to those who are on our roads. Given Connecticut's geographic location between Boston and New York, we are a pass-through state. We're the only state on the East Coast without tolls. So we could raise $800 million, 40% of which will come from out-of-state drivers. I think that's a good deal for Connecticut taxpayers.
Senator Haskell, Democrats are in charge of both the House and the Senate, and they have a Democratic governor. And people are asking me, why can't they get this done in the regular legislative session? Why does there have to be a special session that will cost taxpayers money?
I ran on tolls. I've been supporting it since the campaign. I think that there is a lot of momentum in my district, but that isn't always the case up in Hartford. And I have a lot of respect for my colleagues, Democrats and Republicans, who represent very different districts with different points of view. Transportation is crucial in Fairfield County, and Fairfield County's economic success is crucial to the economic vitality and recovery of the whole state of Connecticut. So we've got to make these investments, and I'll be urging my colleagues to take it up in the regular legislative session.
So you think in the next 4 days, should they be doing it in the next 4 days? Because
I think if they're going to vote on tolls, they should vote on tolls. I don't think they have a plan, and I would have to disagree with my colleague here about bonding. Yes, the Republicans have put forth a plan for improvement of infrastructure, including our roadways, our bridges, our trains. However, what we're missing here is we still have to bond to put tolls on the road. Okay, there's no decrease in the bonding. Our bonding package is within the bonding cap. That money is going to be bonded. What they don't like is that we're taking away the allocation. The governor right now has $150 million that he is allowed to bond for whatever he wants. That's something that's reduced. So there's bonding in both toll plans. That's something that's missed.
So if lawmakers are not going to be handling tolls in the next 4 days, in all likelihood, because they say it's going to be a special session, voters want to know, viewers want to know, what will lawmakers be doing in the next 4 days? What are the big ticket items left, Senator Haskell?
Well, the biggest thing is passing a budget, and something that I've been fighting really hard to include in the budget is a debt-free community college program. I think it's long past due in Connecticut.
What does that mean exactly?
It means it's a last dollar approach, so that no community college graduate will earn their degree and enter the workforce with an enormous amount of debt. It's not saying that tuition is going away. If you get Pell Grants, if you get state and institutional aid, that all stays the same, but we're going to fill the gap. And doing so would cost $6.1 million, but it would actually bring in a tremendous amount of revenue into the community college system. Because when more students fill out the FAFSA form, they realize for the first time that they qualify for federal aid. So it's going to bring greater federal dollars into a community college system that's starved for cash. And it's also going to dramatically increase the number of students who are in classrooms earning these degrees that are desperately needed in a 21st century economy.
Senator Summers, what's the big thing Republicans want to see handled the next 4 days besides tolls?
Well, we would like to see a budget, absolutely. I think that the people, that's the one thing that we are responsible for doing, is passing a budget. So I think we've heard different renditions of what the budget's going to look like. One of the most important things for me is to making sure that we're not passing on significant tax increases to the citizens of Connecticut on an already overburdened tax system that we have here. Our businesses cannot take additional taxes. I know that I've heard there's going to be quite a few in this budget that I'm looking to see. We have not been privy to it. And one of the things I want to point to is last session, I was able to roll back the tax on something very small just to prove the point. In Connecticut, we were taxing boat sales at 6.35%, where our neighbors were taxing them at 0. We lobbied and said, please, let's be competitive. Let's reduce the tax rate to 0. We couldn't get it there, but we got it down to 2.99. So from July of last year, in a 6-month period to January, we saw, with a reduced tax rate, an increase in the revenue to the state of Connecticut. So that's where we want to go. We need to change the landscape so that small businesses can survive here in Connecticut, because that's the economic engine of the state of Connecticut, of the economy, of the U.S. economy, is small businesses, not these large ones. And as far as debt-free college goes, it's great to talk about free stuff, but nothing is free. And quite frankly, we've heard from the university professors and the community college professors, they don't want it to be free. They want kids to have skin in the game, because there's no incentive to stay in class if everything's free. You can walk away and come back. So those are difficult conversations that we need to have, but we need to see a budget that is fair, that does not put significant tax increases on people that are already burdened here in the state of Connecticut. So we're interested to see. I've been in appropriations. I've watched one bill after the other come out with significant increases to the bottom line in the budget. So we'll have to see how it all shakes out. One
of the issues I'm hearing about from a lot of viewers is a hot button issue to them, because it will affect their lives, and that is these environmental concerns about plastic bags, styrofoam containers, and things like that. Where does that stand, Senator Haskell?
You know, Westport, my hometown, was the very first municipality in Connecticut to ban plastic bags 10 years ago, and there was tremendous doubt as to whether or not it would work. But when you run for office, one of the things you do is you stand outside supermarkets. So over the last few months during the campaign, when I met voters outside of supermarkets, I could actually see that consumer behavior had changed. Smart public policy had driven grocery shoppers towards more environmentally friendly habits. People bring their recyclable bags to the supermarket, not only in Westport, but in many of the other towns I represent. Weston banned plastic bags. New Canaan banned plastic bags. It hasn't been a partisan issue. In fact, a lot of Republicans and Democrats have written to me asking me to make this one of my priorities in the legislative session. So I think it's long past time, given the fact that 1 billion bags are used every year in Connecticut. The average family uses 15,000 bags a year. It's time to scale that bag ban up to the state level.
And would that also include straws in styrofoam containers?
It's certainly a part of the conversation, but it's a separate bill, and I've been narrowly focused on the bag bill. I would love to ban single-use plastics. I think that we shouldn't be using styrofoam trays in school cafeterias, but the plastic bag ban is something that we have seen works in municipalities. So why not scale that up?
Senator Summers, what's the biggest thing the Senate and the House have accomplished so far this year in this session, do you think?
Well, I think that we have passed a lot of smaller, very specific legislation. Just last night, we passed a special bill on the workforce improvement. We've passed bills on opportunity zones for businesses where they can have better access to capital to try to revitalize areas in our cities that are being considered opportunity zones with special area and blighted areas. I think that when we're talking about the plastic bags, I'm an environmentalist. I think that's something that we need to look at, but I think we have to be very careful on the way that we do it. You know, just banning the bag does not necessarily help those, especially in the city, that may be not able to afford what you can afford in the district that Mr. Haskell represents, where they want the plastic bag. So let's provide them an alternative. We have one. We're hoping to get that into the legislation should it come up. And we also need to think about our recycling issues with the bottle bill.
And a quick question, just to wrap it up, this one-word answer. When will you folks be done with everything this year?
June 5th.
June 5th? No special session?
Not if we can get tolls and a budget passed.
I'm going to say September.
September. Good enough. Heather Summers, Will Haskell, thank you so much for being in the program today.